So the big tax question is this: how do wealthy people keep their money working for them when selling their business, real estate, or other highly appreciated assets without paying hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars in tax? What if we, as business and real estate owners who have poured blood, sweat, and tears to growing our wealth, and who didn't hire expensive tax attorneys and CPAs to map out an exit strategy, knew their secrets? Instead of recreating the wheel, why can't we just model the way they deferred 30 to 50% in tax, paid off debt, funded their next business dream, and most importantly, leave a financial legacy to give to the causes we believe in most? What if their secrets weren't complicated at all, and you just need a guide who is a few steps ahead of you? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Brett Swarts, and welcome to Capital Gains Tax Solutions. Welcome to the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy such as the Deferred Sales Trust is the best way for you to grow your wealth. Hey, I'm your host, Brett Swarts. In each episode, I'm joined by some of the best real estate minds, financial minds, and passive income wealth advisors in the world, where they share their ideas, deal stories, and inspiration, so together we can make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. Hey, I'm really excited about our next guest. He has launched over 20 businesses that have grown to over $100 million in sales each. He has been involved in more than a dozen public companies and has launched over 500 products, generating more than $5 billion in sales worldwide with iconic brands and celebrities such as Jack LaLanne, Tony Little, George Foreman, and the new iGrow hair restoration product on QVC. As a successful entrepreneur over the last 40 years, he's been involved in numerous projects, including being an original shark on the ABC hit Emmy-winning TV show Shark Tank, the inventor of infomercial as seen on TV Pioneer, and also the co-founder of a few different electronic retailers association and entrepreneurs organization. And so with that being said, I want you to welcome Kevin Harrington to the show. Hey, Kevin, how you doing?
Hey, good to see you, man. You said a mouthful there, but that's pretty good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate that. You being on the show, and there's a lot there to dive into. But in the meantime, would you give our listeners who don't quite know you yet, just a little bit about your background, and then also dive into your current focus right now?
Okay, great. So I guess I could call myself a serial entrepreneur because I started my first business 43 years ago, I think it was. Okay, maybe even longer. I don't, give or take a long time. Back in it was back in the early 70s. Okay, so I was in high school. I started a driveway sealing business, but I'm one of 6 kids. My father was a bartender, and he saved up enough money to open up Harrington's Irish Pub. So I started working for him, and he mentored me to be an entrepreneur because I was making $1 an hour and literally was working some 40-hour weeks. And it's not a lot of money when you think about it, okay? I mean, and I said, Dad, when am I going to make the big money? He said, you've got to own your own business. So from driveway sealing, started heating and air conditioning company in college, and I had 25 employees doing millions of dollars a year. And, back in the early 70s as an entrepreneur. But one day I'd ordered cable TV. I'm watching my 30 channels. This is the early 80s now. And so when cable first hit, today you see hundreds of channels. Way back, there was 30 channels. You had ESPN Sports, HBO Movies, MTV Music, CNN News. I got to channel 30. It was the Discovery Channel, and it was blank. There was nothing there. I called the cable company and I said, hey, I love this cable, 29 great channels, but I'm paying you for 30. Where's channel 30? They said, oh, that's our newest channel. It's called Discovery Channel. It's a brand new channel. They don't have a budget for 24 hours a day. It's an 18-hour-a-day channel. And that's when the light bulb went off. I'm an entrepreneur. They got 6 hours of nothing on that. This is national television, by the way. So I said, well, I might have some things for you to put on that 6 hours of unsold time. And I went down, met with them, and cut a deal to start putting products on. So we started in the kitchen area, and we were doing Ginsu knives and the Food Saver and the Jack LaLanne juicer and George Foreman. And then we got into fitness with Tony Little and the Jenners, and then 50 Cent's headphones. And all of a sudden, Billy Mays, we were doing hundreds and hundreds of products, billions in sales. We went public on the New York Stock Exchange. We had a stock that went from $1 to $20 a share. So it was an amazing period of time for me. I was a young entrepreneur getting into the public situation. Had a great exit, and that was my first wealth building situation. Was the exit out of that public company, and now fast forward, I've been involved with more than a dozen plus public companies that I've been involved in an substantial equity stake. What am I excited about right now? I got that phone call to go on Shark Tank then, and I did quite a few 175 segments over a number of years on Shark Tank, and they all just keep rerunning on CNBC and around the world, actually, because they're now on the internet in many countries. So my business is being an advisor and a mentor to individuals, to entrepreneurs, to public companies. I sit on a few public company boards, and I just love bringing value to a public company. So just one more story, and I'll flip it back to you, because I know I've been talking quite a bit here. But so on that note, I join a public board. I sometimes invest, I get stock, I get, if it could be founding stock or whatever it might be, but sometimes it's a pubco, and I'm getting involved. But generally there's some kind of advisory fees as well as stock compensation. But one of the companies I got involved with 5 years ago, was a little public company. The stock was 10 cents a share, went to 22 cents. And I said, hey, I'm in. I'm going to jump into this. It was a company called Celsius, and it's an energy drink that is a healthy energy drink. And so fast forward, 22 cents a share. When I jumped in, it hit $22 yesterday. So, when you can take a company with tens of millions of shares, and we're $1.5 billion company now. And so that is exciting to me as one of the founders of this company. I say founders because this was a new regime that came in and took the company over and redirected the activity. So, but I have, my original company went from $1 to $20. Another one I had went from $1 to $18. Another one from 4 cents to $1.80. And so, these are the kinds I like to see growth. I like to see a shareholder value increase. And I know we're going to be talking about some money and some numbers and capital tax and gains and things like that. But for me, it all starts with a solid business plan, raising capital, and then executing on that plan and bringing growth to the company.
Absolutely love that. And I love that full picture there, and you painted that so well. Before we dive into some of those, tactical things and some of the things that maybe perhaps you're seeing in this new environment with the economy and real estate, and then also we'll touch on some capital gains tax deferral strategies as well. I'm curious though. I believe, Kevin, we've all been given certain gifts in this life. I believe they're God-given gifts, and they're given to us to make a difference and to bless other people. So I want you to go back. Perhaps it was the days when you're with your dad working, for the $1 an hour, and you're just getting started. What was that gift, that one or two gift that you believe you can maybe identify at that period of time, and how does that connect how you bless and help people today? Right.
So when I started in my dad's restaurant and bar, and I'll never forget this. I'm making $1 an hour, right? Working like crazy. I had a shift where I went in with him on Saturday morning, and we had to get in by 11 o'clock, get ready for the lunch hour. And then we worked all the way through, closed the club down at 2:30 in the morning. So I worked from 11 a to 2:30, but then we took an hour break, and then they had an after party for all the entertainers in the city that went till 6 a.m. And then I did a cleanup after that, got out of there at 8 a.m. So it was like a 22-hour shift, and I'm an 11-year-old kid. And so, yes, I worked hard, okay? And I learned how to do it, bar backing, serving, helping, this, that, whatever. But my dad would always show me, and he'd say, look, now, son, I don't want you just to wash dishes. I want you to understand the business side of this. Now, I'm going to let, this beer truck guy's delivering beers. We got to shore up the invoices. You count how many kegs he brings, and I'll be right back. I got to go out to the restaurant side of the business. And so I'm counting this guy. He brings in 2 on a dolly, and then he takes a couple empties out and 2 more in and out and in and out. My dad comes walking through the kitchen. He says, wait a minute, where are you? He said to the guy, where are you going with those 2 kegs? And he says, I'm bringing in fresh ones and taking the empties out to the truck. And my dad says, wait, let me see that one underneath there. It was full. And so my dad pulls the empty off, and the bottom one was full. He's bringing in 2 empties, taking a full one and an empty one back to the truck. And I'm like, he's trying to get over on an 11-year-old kid. But my dad's like, no. He said, you're fired, buddy. He says, I'm calling your boss right now. And I said, Dad, how'd you figure that out? He said, I could see the sweat on that bottom barrel. This guy's stealing from us. Well, the chef was stealing steaks, and the bartenders were, everywhere across the board, he taught me the ins and the outs of that business. Enough to know that I did not want to be in the restaurant business, okay? But at the end of the day, he would show me how he counted the money, and I'd go to pick up the liquor at the liquor store, and he'd introduce me to people. He was teaching me to be an entrepreneur. He was mentoring me. And that's what I do for I have a new book, and I know we're going to talk about it, but it's called Mentor to Millions. And this is what I've been doing for years. I've mentored millions of people on building their business and becoming an entrepreneur and being more successful. So my father was my first mentor. I've got many, many, many more stories and more mentors I could talk about. But I believe if it weren't for the mentors in my life, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now, because I only have certain skill sets. I think I told you up front. I'm not a brilliant tax guy. I'm a marketing guy. I know how to ring the cash register. So that was the greatest gift that I got was from my father teaching me how to be an entrepreneur.
Absolutely love it. And it encapsulates, who you are and your calling. And so let's dive right into the book right now. So for those who are listening, maybe give us, what are the top steps? Because you already help ultra successful people become successful, right? And so walk us through what kind of the essence of the book, and what are the top steps that, folks can be taking, either if they're starting out or, a lot of our listeners are already very successful. What's that next legacy player? Walk us through kind of what the book's about and what you're hoping to people would grab out of it.
Great, I appreciate it. So I think first of all, it's a book about. I'm the mentor and I have a mentee, so it's about our journey. And so I meet a gentleman by the name of Mark Tim, and he is my co-author now. And so we wrote the book together because he came to me in a time of need, and then it's about how we walk through this. And it's not just about business, but it's about family and other parts of your life. So I think the bottom line is that as we were just talking about, my father teaching me things as a mentor. As I mentor people, I also teach people how, in the book, we talk about how to find mentors. Where do you get mentors, right? And because some people think, well, wait a minute, how am I going to get somebody big and powerful to do all these amazing things for me? And they may not even charge me, right? I do this for a lot of people myself. And it's just part of my giving back to the entrepreneurial community. Now, I also, if I'm going to join a public company, I'm not doing that for free. It's a public company. I get paid, I get stock, and now I'm getting value out of the relationship. But it's still similar. A board of directors, a board of advisors is similar to a mentoring kind of a relationship. So, when people say to me, how do I get a mentor? let me give you a couple ideas. Okay. So when I was building my company, when we first started, we needed capital for inventory, because how are we going to go to hundreds of millions of dollars if we don't have inventory to ship? Well, you get inventory, you got to pay for it. Pay for it, you got to have cash. So I said to myself, we had grown rapidly using just the profits from the company, but now we could go even on a 10X if we could go raise some capital, but I couldn't get bank financing because I didn't know how to talk to the banks. So I ended up at a Chamber of Commerce meeting, and I was very active in networking and things. I got talking to some folks, and I said, if they could get me introduced to a few banking type mentor possibilities, somebody that could help me raise capital. So I'll tell this story real quick. I get talking to this guy, and he says, have you tried to raise money? He said, I've been to 5 banks, got turned down by all of them. And he asked me who they were. And he said, I'll tell you what, I got a great deal for you. He said, I'm going to raise you, what do you want? You were trying to raise 3 to 5 million. He says, I guarantee you, because he knew enough about the business and where we were, the growth, we had sales and profits. He said, you weren't talking to them the right way. He says, I'm going to raise you 3 to 5 million. I'm not going to charge you a dime. And and I think it may even come from one of the people that have already turned you down. He said, so let me do that. After that's all said and done, you're going to want to sit down with me and bring me into your company and make a deal. So I shook his hand. We started. 90 days later, I had $3 million of loan sitting in my company account. So that he got from a bank that had turned me down, which is a true story. So make a long story short, he then became my financial mentor. And I just want to say that came from a Chamber of Commerce. But if you want to go get other mentors, this is one other quick way. Who do you write checks to? If you're in business, so I was in business, I was writing checks to fulfillment centers, to TV stations, to credit card clearing companies, to banks, to phone centers and import-export companies, and et cetera, et cetera. So every one of these people were making money off me because I say I was writing them a monthly check for services. So, hey, if I reach out to them, I need somebody in this area. I need a mentor in finance or a mentor in digital marketing. And I'm giving these people capital as I'm buying their services. They should be wanting to help me also. Mm-hmm. So when you start reaching out to people you know, people you write checks to, chambers of commerce, places that you network at, et cetera, most of these kinds of places are going to be fruitful in getting you some great ideas for who can become a mentor for your business.
And I imagine too, Kevin, a lot of people, they're like, hey, Kevin, I want you to mentor me, right? And you're like, yeah, so does all of the other millions of people. That's why I'm writing this book. And this is why I do these, all of these things, because I don't have the time and the energy to mentor everybody. But curious, Kevin, for those that you actually have, I guess, more on an intimate level, or those who are part of your company or part of your other companies, maybe talk about one or two of those, the mentees that you mentored, and what how do they connect with Kevin? What was it, a natural thing? Was it a formal thing? Walk us through that process.
So Mark Tim is my mentee in Mentor to Millions. He's also my co-author. And so this is an amazing story. Back in the day, Zig Ziglar, you familiar with Zig?
Love
great
Zig.
Motivator, wrote 38 books, Secrets of Closing the Sale, et cetera. So Zig was a mentor to me. And Zig was an unbelievable guy and helped me in many, many ways, Automobile University, all the different things he was doing. But he also was a mentor to Mark Tim. And so when Zig passed away, this is about 8 years ago now, the son and the family, Tom Ziglar, Julie Ziglar, I was talking to them. Mark simultaneously was talking to them. And they said, you know what, guys? We owe it to both of you on behalf of our father Zig to put you guys in touch, because Mark needs a mentor. Kevin, you're a mentor. And so Tom Ziglar introduced me to Mark, and Mark had been very entrepreneurial, had built companies and build them, sold them, build them, sold them. But he had never built a company beyond a $10 million deal. And when I sat down with Mark, I said, Mark, I've had 20 companies that have gone to over $100 million in sales. Let's focus on getting you $100 million business. So there's a story, and I forget it. Zig taught it, but you could put fleas in a little glass, and if you put a top over it, they would try to jump and get out of there, right? But they would just keep hitting the top that was in there, the fleas. So this is the $10 million business. You're never getting above 10. Now, the funny thing is, even though you open this cover, the fleas still don't jump any higher than where that cover was. They don't know how to get to that 100 million. So if that cover was a $10 million cap, they're just always going to go like that because they don't know any better. So when I sat down with Mark and we strategized on exponential thinking and not just additional things, adding on, Mark said, I can grow my business by adding more people, but that's not exponential. So we went through the phases of exponential thinking, and this is all in the book, Mentor to Millions. And so I had $100 million business in the United States back in the early 90s. And when I thought exponentially, I had this library of infomercials that had generated $100 million in sales. Well, how do I build a bigger business? Well, I need more products. Oh, wait, I can think of something different. Why don't I take that library and go to Europe and go to Latin America and think exponentially? Well, boom, that's what we did. We went to Asia, Latin America, the Middle East, and I started meeting with all the TV guys all around the world, and we licensed our shows on a global basis. We went from 100 million to 500 million. So this is the process of getting the right kind of mentor in your business. And for Mark, it's a game changer. He's now on his way to his first $100 million business. So
absolutely love that. That is so powerful. That cap of the fleas jumping, right? And after a while, they don't know. Even if you take it away, it's as if you need a mentor, right, to help exponentially, expand your mind and your thinking so that you can get beyond yourself, right? And a guide who's a few steps ahead of you, and someone who's already done it, of course, right? And I also think about the elephant, right? The elephant who's stuck on a stake, right? And he's been walking around for however long on that stake. Well, you can take the stake out of the ground and he's not going to leave from that area either. So that's very, very powerful. Well, Kevin, with that, I'm curious now. We can shift a little bit from the book and dive into a little bit of finance or real estate or just values. I guess the first thought is just COVID-19. What opportunities do you see coming? How are you positioning yourself to help those who are hurting, right? And especially small businesses or those that are even affected by this. But also on the financial side, perhaps opportunities to buy more. What's your take on just the overall state of economic forecast in the next 6, 12, 24 months?
So I'll say this. I'll never forget when I told I'm one of 6 kids, Cincinnati, I may have mentioned, but when I graduated high school and went to college and University of Cincinnati, I was on the dean's list for 2 years and had great grades, but I wasn't getting anything out of school. Plus, I had a company with 25 employees in the heating and air conditioning business while I was going to school. So started it my senior year of high school going into college. And here I am, 6 trucks going out every day, 25 employees, but I didn't get to my office until 2 o'clock in the afternoon because I had to go to college. Well, finally I said to my mom, I'm quitting. I'm dropping out of college. I can't do both. And shortly thereafter, I sold the heating and air conditioning business and got into this infomercial space. But so here in the early 80s, and and I'll never forget when I was first telling my mother and explaining to her, so I'm going to be taking products, putting them on television and selling them direct to the consumer. And she's like, wait a minute, you mean, but there's stores out there that people go to buy these products from, the Walmarts and the CVS drugstores and Walgreens and Kroger's. And well, you're going to be competing against all them. I'm like, well, yes, because I have unique products. I'm going to find them. I'm going to produce TV commercials for them, and I'm going to put them on Discovery Channel and drive the sales and sell them straight to the public, straight to the consumer. Now, this is the early 80s. It was 10 years before Amazon ever started, way before QVC ever started, and I'm in the direct-to-the-consumer business. Now, what has happened here with COVID? Retail is out. Okay, well, retail was out for me going all the way back to the early 80s because I said direct to the consumer is what I want. And that's what Amazon developed. So one of the things that many companies did not do before COVID, if you were a retailer and you did not have a direct to the consumer strategy, you're probably closing down right now. So there's many chains that have been going out of business. Brooks Brothers just filed, and Sports Authority, and all these different retail chains that are filing for bankruptcy, from Kmart to Sears to whatever, because they didn't have a direct-to-the-consumer strategy. My philosophy now is everybody needs to do this. I don't care what business you're in. They're even, it's all about creating this direct to the consumer. I mean, if you're in the funeral business, you can create streams direct to the consumer that can't get to the funeral because of COVID, right? So every industry is being upended. And my firm belief is, as we put our powerful direct to the consumer technologies, softwares, funnels, lead generation tactics, customer acquisition tactics, this is the wave of the future. And if you haven't learned all these things, that's what you got to get yourself involved with right now, is is e-commerce and how to utilize that in your business.
And with that, I was on the Sharkpreneur podcast, which you co-host with Seth Green, and that's exactly what Seth Green specializes in, right?
Yeah.
Taking a brand and going direct to consumer, as well as exploding their marketing, right? And looking at all these exponential ways to grow. So it's not just it's what you do, and it's the team that you also have around you to do that. So make sure to reach out to them too, Sharkpreneur, Seth Green, and Kevin Harrington on that. That being said, let's talk quickly about tax deferral strategy. Just curious on I know you're not a CPA and you have some of the best that you hire and the attorneys, right? But you mentioned that stock, and I couldn't help but pass that up now. You bought a stock at 22 cents, right? And it's $20. That's insane, right? We're doing a Tesla stock sale right now where somebody bought Tesla like at 200 grand and it's worth $1 million. But when they go to sell it, they're hit with this huge capital gains tax. So would you walk us through either the frustration or the challenge when it comes to selling, buying something low or seeing something explode, and then that 30 to 50% in tax? How do you approach that? What tax deferral strategies have you looked at or done? Walk us through just your philosophy on that and diversification, if that makes sense. That's a big question, but hopefully that makes sense.
I mean, I'm a firm believer of an amazing dream team, and so I'm involved with dozens of companies. And the one thing that I promised all my financial guys is that I'm not going to meddle too much in these arenas. So normally, if I were answering questions about this, I would probably have one of my tax guys here because, I'm just going to say I pay a lot of taxes. I mean, it's crazy. The one thing that I try to do when it comes to capital gains is if there's, it all depends on the classifications. And so if it's a straight, I bought the stock and I'm selling the stock at a higher price, sometimes you just got to pay the tax. But there are ways that if you take the tax, if you take the stock in a different form, sometimes you can have better outcomes on the tax side. So I know that there's consulting stock. There's other ways that you can position yourself inside some of these relationships, and some of them are hardcore. If you got the stock this way, you're just going to be paying the tax. But we like to take a look at the most creative structures possible, and so I'm going to tell you that I use some really powerful guys to try to save as much money in taxes as I can, but I'll tell you, I pay way too much probably. So maybe, let's talk about it. Let's talk about structures and ideas, and maybe you can shed some light on it for me too.
Yeah, and that's actually why we started our company, Capital Gains Tax Solutions, right? Because in the 2008 crash, a lot of my clients, when I was at Marcus and Millichap selling highly appreciated, multifamily properties in Northern California, they had felt trapped and pressured and had overpaid via the 1031 exchange. That's the only thing they knew, right? And they thought that was the only tool they could use to defer tax. And then everything stopped, and that was in the 05, 06 market, and then 08 hit, and then some of them lost everything. Some of them lost half. And then we found out about a thing called a deferred sales trust, which goes back 25 years now, thousands of closes. It's been through the IRS, but it's proprietary and it's protected. And so we launched our company on basically that premise, that there is a better way. It's an alternative way, and it can actually work for not only real estate, but it works for primary homes, it works for business sales, it works for stock, and it's had an amazing track record. But even the smartest folks either have heard about it or don't quite know about it, because they think they know, but they don't. So talk to us a little bit about the idea of bringing in new innovative ideas, and what's the process in which you do due diligence on that. Because the biggest thing we get, Kevin, is, well, that must be too good to be true. My guys would have already known about it, right? I have the best of the best, right? And then they go, wait, well, they don't. And then they end up joining us once they figure out how we do it, what we do it, and we sign the NDAs and everything. So, but walk us through just your due diligence and how you vet different, and it could be tax strategies, it could be a financial model. What is it about making sure that you go with the winners and say no to the ones that are maybe risky or too dangerous?
So we have 2 full-time lawyers, but we use probably 5 or 6 other outside law firms for different advice and things, because there's specialized knowledge that we need in the different industries we're in. So we need FDA counsel, SEC counsel. We can't afford to keep them full-time inside the company, but we have really deal-making lawyers that are part of the internal team. And so they have a little bit of knowledge in some of the tax arenas, but at the end of the day, we also have, I don't know how many different accounting firms we use, because, again, I don't control all the companies that I'm involved with. So I deal with, dozens of different accounting firms, because when I have my own personal accountants, yes, but a public company it has to be a different accountant, because I've had accountants have to resign my personal account because they were taking on a corporate account and things like that. But I like to run. I mean, I don't do anything without having my CPAs and my accounting firm take a look at the structures. But I mean, let me ask you this. I mean, I've played with real estate over the years, but I'm not, I haven't done billions of dollars in real estate, but I have done billions of dollars in product sales. So I am a product marketing guy, but I also, let's talk about public companies and stock. So, because you started off saying that the capital gains worked for real estate. How do you do that when you buy stock and the stock is at this price, and then 2 years later, the stock is triple the price and you want to sell it? Are you telling me that you have a way to defer the tax situation there? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And so the first one I was referring to is a 1031 exchange, which only applies to investment real estate. The second one I'm referring to is called a deferred sales trust. It works for primary homes. It works for investment real estate. It works for highly appreciated public stock. It works for private stock. It works for collectibles, artwork. It works for Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. And it's literally, I think, the best kept secret. And not only that, it's new to people, but it has a track record of thousands of closes now, right? At over 25 years, 15 times no change IRS audits. The biggest deal was a $125 million deal. And one of the recent stock sales, I think, was for Netflix, and it was an over $5 million sale, and they were able to defer the tax. And it's really simple, actually, Kevin. It's actually just a seller carryback. What you do is you sell the stock to the trust before you ultimately sell it to the ultimate buyer. And what you do is, Kevin, is you carry a paper. You become the lender. And so you say, hey, look, I'm going to finance the trust 100% of what the stock was due. Let's say it's a $5 million sale. And you get the $5 million buyer to buy it. And that's kind of the simplified version of this. But because we do this, we do it in a certain way, you haven't received what's called constructive or actual receipt. And so then you're in a tax deferral state. So yes, it absolutely works for public stock, private stock. It is a proprietary structure, but this is like, we believe it's the best kept secret out, and it really will change a lot of people's lives because we're looking at the largest wealth transfer in the history of the planet going on right now, and it's with the baby boomers, and it's $17 to $20 trillion that's going to pass with every single day, 10,000 baby boomers turning 65, and there's 77 million in the U.S. alone, and they're looking for ways out of the toilet to trash liability, out of their highly appreciated stock they've had. Could you imagine someone buying Apple 25 years ago, and basically they're kind of nervous to sell because they're going, I don't want to pay all this tax. I don't want to give all this wealth away to a government that'll probably waste it away pretty quick. But now we can put it into the trust. Now, once it's there and it's deferred, you can actually use the funds to invest into brand new real estate deals or brand new business deals. We call it the go fund yourself. Instead of having to get venture capital, it's kind of like a self-directed IRA. So there's a number of things that go through it. But yeah, the answer is absolutely it works. And we'd love to show you and your tax team how it works.
Well, listen. So let's do this. I'm out of time myself. I got to run, but let's wrap up our podcast here and make it happen. Because
where can they find you, Kevin? Where can they find you? Folks want
more about how you do it. I mean, I'll say this: if you have something that can defer taxes in the sale of stock, like you just mentioned, I want to introduce you to my top people. Maybe you can become what I call a dream team member of what we do, because we're buying and selling stocks, quite a bit on a weekly basis. And so, and we obviously, know when to hold them, know when to fold them. So that's our goal. But I'd like to follow up with you on that. And hopefully anybody that's out there that is interested in my new book, KevinMentor.com is where they can find out about it. It comes out in a few weeks, but there's something amazing that I've done here. For anybody that does a pre-order on the book right now, we're actually doing, and you'll get all these details at KevinMentor.com. We're actually doing a 30-day free mentorship program. Both myself and Mark Tim are going to mentor those that have done a pre-purchase of the book. It comes out in September. And so get in now, get free mentoring, then your book will be ready in September and you're ready to roll. So I appreciate you letting me speak to yourself and the rest of your crowd out there. Hopefully we've had some fun and got some things moving here for all of us.
Thank you, Kevin. Absolutely. I'm going to sign up for that the Mentor to Millions right now and get going on that. And I would appreciate your time. And I encourage you to keep using the gifts and talents you've been given to bless other people like you're doing and mentoring hopefully 1 million people here more for who can achieve financial freedom and leadership and everything above. So thank you, Kevin. And thank everyone for being on the show. And with that, please rate, review, subscribe, comment, and hear any questions you have. And we thank you so much for being a part of it. Bye now.
See you. Bye-bye.
You have just listened to another information-packed episode of Capital Gains Tax Solutions with Brett Swarts. We hope you enjoyed today's show and found it helpful. Visit capitalgainstaxsolutions.com to access the show notes and to access more resources. Don't forget to leave a review and join us again next time.